Good evening, everyone. This is a public meeting, the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for November 14th, 2011. Tonight we have 3 petitions under continuances. And I would like to remind everyone, if you plan on addressing the board, that you please sign in with your name and address. Our first matter before us is under continuances, ZB 2011-37. The petition is a special permit under telecommunications. The applicant is Exonet Systems, Inc., property located at 169 Bridge Street. And the petition is to install a steel stand, alone pole, with telecommunication equipment in the base and antenna located at the top pursuant to section 7.6 of the zoning code. Will a representative of Exonet please address the board?
Hello, Carly Cower, Exonet Systems. I was here, I guess, about a month ago with a proposal to use, or to actually put in a new steel standalone pole with equipment in the base, antenna at the top. We've since gone back to the drawing board, so to speak, and came up with a different proposal that better suits both the park and Exonet, actually. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see the photo simulation prior. No? So we went back and had a look at the trolley pole, and we're trying to gain access to the trolley pole instead by having the box mounted to the existing pole and having the antenna at the top. The antenna would be painted the same color as the trolley pole, and the disconnect box and the meter can also be painted the same color. I'm not sure if I can get the equipment box itself to be painted, but we do have an alternative solution of shrouding the equipment and putting the disconnect box inside that shroud as well and having that match the color of the pole.
Okay, so based on, I think most of the board members did receive a copy of the new proposal, and I also, in looking through the summary from DPD, one thing that I like to see is that you've been working very closely with them and trying to, get this to work that would work both for the company and for the city. In regards to, just so I understand correctly, when we're talking about the painting, so we had uniformity, you had mentioned the box. You weren't sure if the box could be painted. Can you just go through that one more time?
Yeah, the equipment box itself, the power wave box, I think there's specs somewhere in there for it. I'm not sure if we can get that to be green.
Who makes that decision if it can't be green?
I guess the company itself, if it can be painted. I mean, we could probably maybe have it sprayed green, but when I went back to the engineers on it, they basically said the antenna we can do, the meter we can do, the disconnect box, but I couldn't get an answer and basically got like a no on the power wave box itself. I mean, there's got to be something we could do, but basically that's when they said, look, you're better off shrouding it. Both will be inside the shroud, and,
Okay, and you can paint that
any
to
color
match
you
up.
want.
Okay.
The shroud is actually used for a lot of different Exonet networks, not only for the fact that sometimes we'll have future entitlement space, we'll have both boxes behind it, but as a protection as well.
Okay, and now the National Park, that's my understanding, have you had any communication with them lately, or to your knowledge?
Not directly. I know that they're still reviewing the use of the trolley pole itself.
Yep, and that's the understanding I have, so...
We've used them in the past.
Yep.
MBTA poles and such, and different other, same type of poles. So I don't see it being a huge issue, but I haven't heard back from them yet.
Yep. So if this was to be approved, I'd probably have a condition just around the National Park's acceptance.
The cabling will be inside the pole as well. That was another thing.
Okay.
So, you know.
Anything else you want to add at this point?
No?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to the board first. Kevin, do you have any comments or questions?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't know. I'm glad to hear that they're working with the DPD just to work through whatever open issues that have been ongoing, and a couple of the items that were raised by DPD, I think, were just addressed, so I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Vesna?
I do concur with Kevin that the petitioner trying to work with the DPD on this. What is your feeling with regard to, let's say, 6-month reviews or an annual review of the project? Because this is like a recommendation from the DPD, I believe, that this one approve that this project being reviewed annually, maybe every 6 months or every years,
To review,
to see if there's any problem at all.
oh, yeah, and I don't mind it being reviewed.
Right. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vesna. Corey?
Yes, I'm in agreement with my colleagues, Mr. Chairman. The petition has definitely worked with planning and development, has done their due diligence. It's low profile, it's barely visible. You could hardly tell it's a telecommunications facility, to be honest, so I'm comfortable with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just understand the height of the pole versus the height of the trolley, electric trolley pole
The
next
trolley
to it.
pole that's existing, I think the trolley pole up there now, as it stands, I want to say it's like 24 or something. We did run that height through our models to make sure that the capacity in the antenna is going to cover the same amount as our proposed pole would have. It's about the same height. I do have the backside of that has the trolley pole with, like, has my original sim on there. So we could flip it and see what it looks like for the actual photos on there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual
It's about
photo.
the same height as the Cobra heads anyways.
No, well, you have a diagram that basically seems like it's saying that it's 3 feet higher than the Cobra heads.
Oh, okay.
So we have the Cobra heads at roughly 29 feet or so, I think.
So you think the
And then this
trolley
goes,
is at like 32 or something?
no, it would appear the trolley is even lower.
Yeah, we're not touching the trolley pole's height at all.
My point is that we've got a bit of a play of heights on these poles. It'd be nice if we had something more uniform in height, which would mean that your pole would be lower. So I was wondering why you're not matching the height of either the Cobra head or the trolley pole.
Because we're using the existing pole. If we did that, we would have to rip out that trolley pole and either modify it or
What was that height?
extend it.
Got it.
We're only gonna, there's no cap on the existing trolley pole. A lot of them have like a,
Okay.
which I think is,
I'm confused. In this photograph, there's another pole over here. Is that the trolley pole? In your first?
yeah.
And that you're showing it adjacent to the trolley pole rather than using the trolley pole.
No,
But-
that was the original one.
So now you're using the trolley pole, and you're putting this on top, and you're raising the height of the trolley pole by a few feet.
By the antenna. The antenna is about 2 feet itself.
Okay.
So in that sense, it would be raised.
And so the drawing that you had in here that had the dimensions on it doesn't necessarily apply because you're using the trolley pole, and you don't know the exact height of the trolley pole.
Exactly. I guess that would make sense.
Okay. Okay, I just wish we knew what the height was, that's all.
Well,
Okay, thank you.
We can have it measured, I guess, but I mean, all the trolley poles out there are the same height. So it's, I don't know, we're using it. We weren't planning on removing that pole in any way or modifying it in any way.
And I agree with that. I love the idea of reusing the pole too. I'm trying to look for some uniformity so that we have
Well, all those
some-
Cobra heads are going to be ripped out eventually anyways.
Mhm.
So at that point, I guess it could be uniform.
matching the height of the mast, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. At this point, I'd like to open it up to the public. Is anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone here that'd like to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Well, I guess based on everything that I've heard and hearing from the board members, again, to just restate, you've been a very good partner in working with the city on this, so I know for me, that's very important. So I would, based on what I've heard so far, for approval of this, I'm looking at potentially three conditions, and I'll just review those with you right now and see if there's So as far as the painting, just want to ensure that the painting is uniform, that we've discussed, which includes also the box that we did review. The administrative review, the FESNA also talked about, we'll set that at 6 months, Secretary. And then the third condition
Is
would
that going to be 6 months from installation?
I'm sorry?
The admin review would be 6 months from installation, like after it's built? Okay.
Yes.
Because that probably won't be built for a little while, so it won't be from this date.
Sure. Okay. Yep. Yeah, we'll just assume have it operational, then we'll do the administrative review. Then the third condition would be the national park. I'll state it as acceptance, but I think it's just, we just want to ensure that there's nothing left that they may have issues with. Does anybody else have any other conditions they want to add at this point? Okay, Secretary?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve with the following conditions. That there will be administrative review 6 months from installation, contingent upon acceptance from the National Park Service, and the petitioner agrees to shroud, electrical box, and paint accordingly to the satisfaction of planning and development.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Noon?
Approve with condition.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, Ms. Cower, you've been approved with conditions. Aaron, do we have anything that we need to have signed?
I could have the,
Sure.
the
Okay.
photo simulation signed.
Yep, if you could sign that, and we'll be all set. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Okay, next matter before us is under ZB 2011-38. This is a special permit and variance for signs. The applicant is Supas. Property is located at 94 University Avenue. And the petition is to internally illuminate a new overhanging wall sign that does not meet the size requirements pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. And representative of Supas, please address the board.
Yes, hi, my name is Fred Penal, and I want to represent Supas and Mr. Chairman and board members. For the record, they would like to withdraw their request to alter the sign at this
Okay.
point.
So is that will that be a withdrawal without prejudice, Aaron? Just so, is that what they're asking for, or are they just asking to withdraw?
I haven't received a letter or anything that stated either. I assume
They
you would.
can- Yeah, they can give you a documentation if you need one. They just asked me tonight to speak on their behalf
Okay,
to
I
withdraw.
assume that they would be seeking one without prejudice, because.
okay, so they're just
Without
withdrawing.
that, they
I
would
just want to
go.
make sure I have it correct. Okay. Yep. All right. We have
So
a,
motion,
Yep.
I'll make a motion to withdraw the petition without prejudice.
do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Mr. Bailey?
Approve the withdrawal.
Mr. Belanger?
Withdraw.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve.
Mr. Noon?
Approve the withdrawal.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve the withdrawal.
Okay. Our next matter before us is ZB 2011-41. The petition is a special permit and variance for signs. The applicant is Barlow Signs. The property is located at 705 Pawtucket Boulevard. And the petition is to remove existing changeable copy sign and replace with an electronic changeable copy sign pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Representative of Barlow Signs, please address the board.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm Fred Pino from Barlow Signs.
So at our last time we convened on this, we had asked that you come back with a new set of plans, which I see we received. I'm pretty sure all the board members have received this. I also, if it's my understanding, we asked that you'd reach out to the neighborhood association. Not sure if that happened or not, but we can find out about that. But can you run us through the changes that have transpired since our last meeting, please?
Certainly. The proprietor and owner of the establishment made some more concessions with the square footage of the sign. We reduced the overall square footage from now what's existing at 153 square feet to 90 square feet. He agreed to make the top section non-illuminated on a flat cutout copy. He would paint his mansard roof as well as his building facade, the mansard roof on the building as well. He opted for some cedar-clad siding over his steel poles as a veneer, and he also incorporated 2 cultured stone bases at the bottom of the sign, as well as some arborvitae trees for some aesthetic, agricultural pleasing. And I think overall the sign, has come far since the first meeting. Again, he still feels the electronic sign is staple to the growth of his business in this environment. We did reach out to the Pawtuckaville Committee and the Department of Planning.
Yep.
Not sure how much we gained. We were willing to concede, again, once in the affidavit that we submitted prior, he'd still like to make all those concessions as well.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Well, I'd have to agree with you. I think the sign has changed dramatically since the first rendition we received, and obviously, Mr. Watson's here again. I know I think he wants to do the right thing, and I think this board does too. So is there anything else you want to address at this point?
Yeah, good evening, Jim Watson, J.J. Boomer's Restaurant, Lowell's favorite meeting place. I just wanted to bring forward, when I break down everything that we're talking about, the bottom line for me is economic hardship. And I look at you and I tell you that is sincere. This is not something I want to do because it's nice to do or something to do because somebody's telling me I can't do it. I am searching for a way to stop the decline of our business. Our business over the last 3 years has declined 30%. You can say that's because of my poor management, but it isn't. The fact that it's only 30% is a miracle. What we have done over the last 3 years is we have doubled our advertising budget. We have doubled what we pay in the Lowell Sun. I have doubled what I do with the internet, with Facebook and all the wonderful things on the internet. I do direct mail now 3 times a year at great expense. And when I sorted it all out, I'm spending right now almost $40,000 a year to get customers into my little business to sell hamburgers and beer. That's what I'm trying to do, to keep my 35 employees and my 8 family members working. The cost of that, when I analyze the Lowell Sun, the internet, direct mail, and coupons, I end up with approximately 125 new customers a year from that commitment. We track this. That averages out to $35 of my expense to get somebody new in the business. My big desire here is to have a sign that can be changed, that's attractive, that I can put a good message out to the 35,000 customers that go by every day, and all I'm looking for is to gain 3 new customers a day. If I do that, and I retain half of them, at the end of 1 year, I have now got 1,500 new customers. That is amazing. At the average tab of $25 a piece, I'm looking at a $40,000 to $50,000 increment in my business. And when I take the cost of the sign, which is pushing $60,000, and amortize it over 10 years, it's the lowest price thing I can do to get new customers to come into J.J. Boomers. We have tried everything else. I can't fight the economy by myself, and I'm asking this board to please allow us to use this sign to improve our business, to save our customer jobs, my employee jobs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Watson. Rachel, could I have you come up, please? Could you just update us
Sure.
on, since the last time we met, I know, if memory serves me correctly, you hadn't really seen the last submittal of the plans, and
Right.
if you could just update us now,
Sure.
what your feelings are.
Yes, I'm Rachel Kisker. I'm a design planner with the Department of Planning and Development. And since we last met, the applicant has redesigned the sign, which we appreciate. We did meet briefly today with the Citizens Council of Pawtucketville, which they can address. And we do think the new sign that they're submitting is more aesthetically pleasing and in line with what we would be looking for from a sign of this type. However, although I appreciate their willingness to redesign, and I appreciate trying to generate more business, we are still firmly against the changeable sign, both the changeability of it and the internal illumination. And the portions of my original memo still stand, I believe. It does not, both the moving and the internal illumination are not allowed in this SMU district. It does not meet the standards for a variance. We feel, especially given its location, a riverfront location, it is not in line with the master plan of the city of Lowell, nor is it in line with the Pawtucketville master plan, which the citizens group can speak to more specifically. Again, we appreciate that they've worked with us, but we just, as you know, we're firmly against such signs, but especially in this location, I'm very, strongly against it in this particular location, although I appreciate business objectives. So we appreciate Mr. Watson and Barlow Sign's willingness to work with us, but we don't think that the movable sign, illuminated sign, is something that we can support, and we are still against it.
So the other characteristics of the sign, you're comfortable with, and you believe it's in line with?
Yep. I think it's still oversized, but I think if it's non-internally illuminated, if it's the materials that he spoke of and the colors, and they're willing to change the building and add landscaping, I'd be interested, in what the neighbors think as well, but that would be something that, we would support, or we could, support with maybe some small discussions, sidebars.
Okay. Anything else you like that?
No, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this project? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone here that'd like to speak in opposition? In opposition?
Hi, Deb Forgione, Pawtucketville Citizen Council. It's very difficult to come here and be part of a neighborhood and be the face of the person who's going to be here opposing it. And that's one of the reasons you'll only most likely see one face, because most people don't want to go on TV and be the face of talking against a business. But in the big picture, participating in the Pawtucketville Master Plan and sitting down with AAA, Lowell General Hospital, the university, citizens. There were 20 people that sat down at that table in 2006, and these things came up. So today, what I really wanted to go over is that no one is against J.J. Boomers. Nobody's against business, but there are zoning regulations for reasons, and there was a lot of thought that went into this as far as movable signs on a boulevard in an area that is residential as well as business, and also across from a riverfront. And if variances were given to businesses because you like them, then 80% of Lowell businesses would have movable signs. It would only be fair. And what we're against is a precedent. If right now in that area, it does say that it's not allowed. So if you give this variance, then next door, the Brunswick Bowling Alley should be here next week. Dunkin' Donuts should be here next week. Hamill Brothers, Heritage, Byam Brothers, they're all down the street. They're all in walking distance. So what you're dealing with is a precedent. And I think Barlow Signs is a good company that to go from to upgrade and improve J.J. Boomers is a wonderful idea. But if you see his sign now, surely you can go from his sign and not have to go to the readable. There must be other ways in the middle that he can still get a quality sign. To say that you can't go from what he has now and he has to go to the readable in order for him to survive, I just think is an unfair statement. I think there are signs all through Lowell, very good business signs, very good ways of attracting business that he's even designed for other companies that's not readable. So with those before you and the fact that it is a boulevard, it is a safety issue. And again, nobody wants to be the face of somebody here talking in opposition to a business. It is not the business that we're against, is we'd like you to stay within the zoning and be consistent, because after today, it would be a precedent, and all those businesses would have the right to come here and also have a readable. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak in opposition?
My name is Anne Marie Page. I'm the president of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group. And since Centerville kisses Pawtuckaville, we watch out for each other. Because if it happens in Pawtuckaville, you know it's going to flow downriver and happen in our backyard. This is not a good thing for the city, and I think the city made that very clear. Other neighborhood leaders wanted to be here tonight also, but had other commitments. We all have heavy schedules. I listened to what the gentleman said. The secret to a good restaurant is not a good sign. The secret to getting good customers in on a regular basis is not your sign. I have a favorite restaurant in the city. I traveled 20, 25 minutes, cross the river, which is an adventure, to get over to another part of the city to go to that restaurant. Why? 1, the food is very good. 2, the service is very good. 3, the place is immaculate. Immaculate. This person in economic times is doing so well with his restaurant without flashing signs that people are in line. You have to get there early or you're going to wait in line. And this past year, he was lucky enough to be able to put on an addition. Now, J.J. Boomers has a nice big restaurant, good spot, very visible, plenty of parking, great. There's got to be another way to do it. Market something to the university, market something with the hospital up the street. But we want to know this is not it. You're coming off a busy intersection. You've got the Rourke Bridge, and that other intersection where everybody uses it for a shortcut coming down through Pawtuckaville onto the boulevard by the Elks is also a very busy little intersection. And the last thing we need in Lowell is another flashing, moving, action sign. We don't want that circus atmosphere. We don't want that carnival atmosphere. The circus and the carnival come to town, they go up on the boulevard, they stay a few days, and they leave, and that's just fine. Everybody's happy. We want to be able to encourage businesses and help businesses in any way we can with whatever resources are available to them. But a flashing sign is not the answer. It's not good in your neighborhood, and it's not good in my neighborhood. We thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'm going to open it up to the board. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I think all the changes to the signs look great. I think the upgrade basically from soup to nuts when you guys started, you know, adding the stonework and everything else, I think it'll be beautiful when it's done. I understand what they're saying. I think the crux of this issue is the movability of the sign. From what I've heard over the past meetings, in my opinion, I don't think it's an issue. It sounds like you guys are gonna change it and maybe you guys can answer that for me. What's the reality of when this, are you gonna have one statement up there for a day, 2 days?
We were just looking at the Songus Arena sign prior to coming in, and we were watching how that one changed. And we counted about every 15 seconds they had a message, but the way they changed the message was so immediate and so fast, you didn't even realize the sign changed if your eyes weren't focused on it. It's a well-built sign. It's a sign I actually had a hand in way back when it was originally built. And that sign was redone recently to a full color, and they doubled the square footage of the original one that was on there. And I don't think there's any traffic accidents or any people, pedestrians, the foot traffic and car traffic around that sign. I think it vindicates any questions whether there's a safety issue. I don't know if anybody's ever come in saying that sign, I got hit, ran over because I was walking across the street reading the sign. How it will change?
I'm just trying to get to the actual intent of the sign, other than having a nice looking sign out there. I agree, I don't want a flashing circus type atmosphere out there.
We'll
but
concede.
If it's to say, hey, here's my statement, and it's there for a day or a couple days or what have you, it's an easier way to change it. That's a different situation than having a scrolling message every, 15, 30 minute, whatever have you.
We conceded scrolling and flashing. The time parameters of which it can be changed, we're open for discussion.
Well, obviously there's an intent to do it.
Yeah, I would,
That's all I'm
if
looking
I
for.
may comment, because I'm the guy that's going to change the sign.
Right.
You're looking at the man here. The advantage to me is being able to change the sign without going out there in the winter in the snow and having the dishwasher who doesn't speak English go out and change the sign. I can do it inside. I don't have an exact plan when I change the sign. My feeling is that we wouldn't probably change it more than semi-daily. That's my guess. It would be featuring a Pats game. It would be featuring, a chicken wing contest or whatever we had to do
Right.
to try to appeal to that 1, 2, 3, 4 customers that are going by my door and they don't stop, no matter what anybody wants to believe. But once they're in, they're happy. Because we do have a good, clean restaurant. We do have great service. We do have good food, but I got to get you in the building. That's what I'm looking at. So no, we're not going to run a circus-like atmosphere. That's not going to happen. We just want to present an honest, fair message to that clientele that's whizzing by me. If you stopped here, you'd be out of traffic now, kind of thing. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I would much rather see that than the Bud Light banners or what have you, just promoting, what a chicken wing.
And I agree with that. So would I.
From that, I think it's a cleaner, better looking environment. It's gonna clean up the parking lot. So all in all, I support it. I do hear the concerns of the rolling message, which I would have concerns with too, if that's the intent of it. I don't know how we condition how it's used, or even if we can, but my concern would be just having that blasting, light, flashing.
Which
type
we
of
would
thing.
totally support. We want to be good neighbors, but we want to survive. And I think everybody knows, look, it's not my fault the economy is going where it's going. I'm doing everything I can to keep people working and survive. And this is a great tool for me. And it's so inexpensive to get 3 or 4 people in versus spending $35 to try to hammer the message out in the Lowell Sun or the internet or whatever I'm doing. It just isn't working.
No, it's a good restaurant. I lived in Pawtuckaville for a long time, so. That's all my comments,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, looking at the new sign and the plan, with the landscape and the aesthetics of it, to the petitioners, dating back to September, commending you for your change in the aesthetic piece of the sign. I'm sure you're going through a great deal of expense at this point, making different changes in height and adding landscaping and stonework. As it relates to the scrolling, flashing, circus type lights that's being portrayed here tonight, I don't particularly agree with that. I do oppose a reader board. I'm definitely opposed to any type of reader board, but I would not be opposed to set lighting timeframes where, as you mentioned in a meeting or 2 or 3 ago, you might put a lobster dinner plate up there in the morning, and then in the afternoon, you may put something up there. I'm familiar with the Tsongas Center at UMass Lowell, that sign itself. It does change frequently. It changes so frequently you don't even notice it, and I travel up and down that area quite frequently. Is there, just as my memory serves me, just to go back to how it's going to be controlled, it's going to be controlled through
A computer in
a
the
computer
office.
panel with inside the building.
Right. There'll actually be 2 computers, because there's 2 signs, there's one on each side.
Right. So it's going to be controlled within the building.
And my philosophy, if I may, is not to make it pounding out there, buy beer, I'm looking to make the sign part of the community and really interesting to look at, and to put out little messages out there, public service messages. And, you know, I don't have a plan, and I need to be trained and educated what to do, but I don't need to change that sign every 15 seconds like they're doing down the street. That's not my intent. But I would like the ability to change it. I would think lunch, dinner, evening kind of thing at least. You know, that would make sense to me.
And you know, to that point, perhaps you could, when that sign time changes, what is the actual time
Increments.
in real time when it changes? If he was going to go from Twin Lobster dinner to Monday Night Football.
It's a fraction of a second.
Yeah, but how long would it be there? If I
No, how long is the time change?
I would think it would be a matter of hours.
No,
Change it.
let me clarify.
Oh, no,
How
you-
long does it how long does the message itself?
How long does it take for it to
Instant.
change?
Does it convert?
It's literally a fraction of a second.
Your eye can't even observe it.
I think a great example is the Tsongas
It's not a
Arena, the way
scrolling sign
that
per se.
changes.
No,
It's so quick that there's no flashing, it's an immediate, it's a high-tech sign.
Right.
Like, he's not scrimping on the quality, and the quality of the sign is very similar to the Tsongas Arena sign. So, you know, as far as its changing capability, you can be endless with the parameters of the software, but he is willing just to change it, a static change instantaneously, so it's not disruptive. I think that's the safest and best and the cleanest approach with the sign. Regardless how many changes there are a day, when the sign changes, it's fast. It's so fast, it's within a microsecond.
Yeah, just to you know, as we touch on reader boards, there are a couple in the city. There's one out on 38 that changes frequently, which I do see distracting at some point. You discussed in the meeting or 2 ago, as we move from continuous to continuous, you are going to be open to using it for public awareness events and or
Positive.
public
Even for
safety,
the school, the hospital, whatever.
Amber Alerts and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
You're open to those suggestions to promote or protect parts of the city.
We want it to be a community sign that people look at and they want to look at it, not that it, you know, aggravates them, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. You're a businessman. You're trying to improve your business. You've been there for decades. You've made several concessions as relates to the banners along the parking lot, which is going to clean up that fence line. You made concessions to the sign itself as it relates to the banners on the sign. You've improved the landscape. I think that just the definition of it, for going from a reader board to a non-reader board to a sustainable image change, kind of helps clarify where I'm going with it. And I appreciate the community having their safety concerns and being concerned that every other company down the line is going to be in front of us. All those things come case by case, so I just wanted to thank you for your patience in looking at this new sign. Are those arborvitaes that you?
That's what I picked out. That's something I thought was pretty economically to do. Financially, it won't cost all that much money to dress up the base of that sign, and I think it complements the overall appeal of the finished product.
Okay, I have no further questions at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Fresno?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How often is the message being changed?
Daily.
Message on the board?
Well, just so we're not misdirecting the communication, I would think, as the guy that's going to change the sign, that I would have a message for lunch. I don't do breakfast. I would have a lunch message kind of thing. I would have what I would call an early dinner message. And then our business shifts a little bit in the evening because we do karaoke, we do a DJ, we have pool tournaments. I mean, it's a gathering spot for people that can't afford to go anywhere else. And they come to Boomers and have a beer and play Keno. That's what they do. And they have chicken wings. So I could see the messages being changed maybe 3 or 4 times a day. That's over an 18-hour period. It's not like I'm looking at, that's not my intent. The lunch special today is genuine corned beef and cabbage, $6.99. That's the message. Come here on Thursday, right? The message is it's fried chicken livers. You know, I mean, that's what the kind of thing. And then a lot of fill in with community information if we had it. That's my intent. Right now, we struggle to change that sign more than once a day because of just getting people out there physically.
I'm still troubled, though. I do appreciate your effort to try to work with Barlow sign and to try to change, redesign the plans and having landscape, as Gary indicated, those efforts being made by you. I appreciate that. I'd still remain concerned with the facts that if I, as one board members, were to approve it, that there would be a change of proposal down the street with the help of Barlow, who is very capable of make that happen for those business, and for this board to later say to the other business, you cannot have it yet. I just tonight approved to have J.J. Boomer's changeable sign, and that sent a bad message to other potential. I know that they're not before us yet. I'm not encouraging them to come before us, and that's why, I do concern about that. I believe that the proposal is not, may help the business, but it's not in line. It's compromise with the integrity of the neighborhood, and that's, I heard the neighborhood leaders from Centerville and from Pawtuckaville, even the city staff expressed that concern, and that is to my concern. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vesna. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'd like to start off by saying, for starters, I live nearby. I live on the opposite side of the bridge. I'm by there often enough. And what I couldn't help noticing is the several banners you have there now. I mean, you're trying to get the word out. I understand what you're doing. But, as a nearby resident, I don't like the way you're with these cheesy banners hanging around. There's a half a dozen of them hanging. Some of them are sideways. And that's what happens when the wind gets a hold of them. And the sign you have there currently as a Keno banner, and it's dilapidated. So, I'm not too pleased with the current way you're advertising, but you're doing nothing wrong at the same time. But now, it's still unclear to me, the board members have asked, so you're looking just to have 3 or 4 messages a day?
And plus any, what I would say, community messages that people would want to insert, yes.
Yes, we could make that a condition. I know it was already discussed. Yeah, if, I don't know which way this is going to go, but, we want to see a trade-off if this does get approved to the community,
Yes.
or just J.J. Boomers is not the only beneficiary of the sign.
Right.
But, so is it still feasible for you if there's only 3 or 4? I mean,
Absolutely.
without a doubt, we're not going to approve
It would
30
make a big
seconds.
difference. That would be 21 messages a week that aren't getting up there now. We're only changing that. If we change that message up there twice a week, we're lucky because of the physical. It has to be a very young, strong person that can physically hold that thing up and get out there on a ladder.
Well, okay, and Mr. Noon has a concern too, which is genuine, and it's kind of a concern of mine as well.
Yep.
But, this doesn't mean that there's going to be a ripple effect for, that whole strip, the whole boulevard, certainly not. We had, if I recollect, Route 38, we had a car dealership was approved a year ago, and then Hogan Tire tried, less than a quarter mile up the street, they were denied. So every petition is different. It doesn't mean Barlow Signs is going to call up the next neighbor and say, look, we can do this for you. It doesn't mean, he's got carte blanche with his board, that's for sure. So we don't plan on inundating neighborhoods whatsoever with these reader board signs. But it is debatable whether it is an improvement. I kind of lean towards that. It is a bit of improvement to what's there now. I'm on a fence right now myself, but if this does get approved, I know I wouldn't support any further banners or signage on either side, Old Ferry or the Boulevard. There needs to be some community outreach with the sign too, so there's a trade-off here for the public.
I brought pictures of all sides of the elevation of the building, and it shows the signage that's up now that he's willing to concede. May I just hand him off to you guys if you want to see him, or?
What's that?
He's got a static wall sign. He's got a few different signs that are not just banners that he's willing to concede.
Okay.
I'd be willing to show you the pictures if you want to see him.
All right, well, you can submit. Have no further comments, but Mr. Chairman, I think Rachel would like to comment.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm not intimately familiar with the site of all sides that you just spoke of, but I do know, and Aaron can confirm or deny, that temporary banners are meant to be temporary only. So any banners, Keno or otherwise, are not allowed. They're not allowed on fences. If you put them on your building, they're, I believe, 30 days or less, they have to come down. So although we appreciate him, quote, cleaning up his site, he is supposed to do that anyway, and I know that we as a group are systematically going through the whole city and trying to enforce that better. And that's really what I wanted to say, because that's been
Okay.
brought up a few times as something, sort of a trade-off, and I don't think that is an appropriate trade-off. I don't think that counts, so to speak.
Okay, Rachel, now, is that only historic zone, that's citywide, that's
I
banner
believe it's
ordinance?
citywide. As-
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay,
It's
but
citywide.
are we allowed to combat that? I mean, if he's got a banner, 10 by 20 feet, whatever it may be, and he advertises one thing, is he allowed to remove it and just put up another sign? Is that?
I'm not sure about the exactness of the rule. I don't know if
Well,
Aaron
I'm
has
thinking
anything
it
to
could be
say,
in-
but I do, I know that if a banner goes up, it's meant to be temporary, and it has to come down in 30 days. Whether or not you can dust it off and put it up 2 days later,
I see
that
your
would be
point.
for inspectional services to,
But I think that could be a never-ending cycle where he just merely changes, because the liquor, most of the companies do those for free for the establishments, and it could be a never-ending cycle where he takes one down, puts another, and technically he's within, I don't know, is he
Right.
within, or that's
well,
not?
sometimes we get into these issues of what's better, and I'm not saying that this might not be better in a certain light, but I think that's not perhaps the way we should look at it. I think we should look at the sign as is and not compare it to what's there now, because obviously what's there now, no offense, isn't, can use some improving. I think we should, I try to view the sign just alone, not necessarily in view of what would be worse. Thanks.
Thank you.
Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I have a question for Rachel, if you could, please. I'm trying to get to the definition of reader board, movable sign versus a fixed letter sign, or a semi-static fixed letter sign, or whatever we seem to be kind of describing here, that it only changes once every 3 hours or whatever the interval is now.
Okay.
So what we have there now is a sign that you can change the letters on
Manually,
manually, but you can change it every hour if you're so inclined.
sure.
And it's internally lit.
Yes, I believe so. Yes,
And it's rather unattractive.
true,
And we have no option for community messages,
true.
really. Versus something that we're going to have potentially with this design, even though it's not allowed per zoning and it's not allowed in the master plan, that would be changed every 3 hours or whatever the interval is, maybe no more than 3 hours, and have the opportunity for community messages, but still be a static letter sign that's internally lit.
I believe you're understanding it correctly. I mean,
Okay.
I think the difference in what is somewhat misleading in the drawing is that it really is, except perhaps maybe the transition between one image or word and the next, it is, I believe the quality is very similar to the Sangha Center. And that is, you know, for better or for worse, that is a bright sign to advertise a very large venue. And we believe that even though the sign is smaller, the quality and the changeability and all of the characteristics that go with the sign that's why it's not allowed in this district. And as the citizens remarked, you know, both we in the city and the citizens on their own have worked on supporting master plan, both for the city all over and for this neighborhood, that they talked about these very things and did not want them. So although I understand that in some ways it is just a improvement on the technology that is available today, I still think the quality of light, the brightness, as they said, you know, images of lobsters or hamburgers is much different than just words that are able to be changed from someone's computer as opposed to going out in the snow.
Oh, I hear what you're saying
Like
exactly.
contradicting what you just said, or...
I still think, Rachel, that you and I could imagine that existing reader board sign that's out there that's internally lit fixed letters graphically having the same appearance as this other sign. If you had a blacked out background.
I think
and
it could,
bright
but I
lights,
don't think it
could.
will.
But we're not really, I think the intent here is to have fixed letter signage. And the graphics is unfortunately a little loose here, but fixed letter signage, I think, is the intent.
Yeah, you might be right. I think it's a different appearance altogether, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I don't think I helped clarify anything for you, but I understand where you're
It's-
coming from.
It's a difficult scenario, and I think that the J.J. Boomers is doing the best to get to a middle ground that's acceptable to the neighborhood and to the city, and still provide something that's current and is going to be competitive in the marketplace for restaurants. So I think they're trying to find that middle ground. And that's fine.
No, that's okay. I thought you were done.
I just want to say, that I think that between you and Barlow Signs, I think that the new signage here is amazing. I think that it will do a lot to improve the landscape of the boulevard by upgrading the sign. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. So this, this location is in which district, Aaron?
This is the suburban mixed-use district.
Okay. And across the Rourke Bridge, what district is that?
I say directly across is probably suburban mixed use as well, but that area is also largely zoned regional retail, which is a more commercially, a zone that's more specific to allowing commercial type uses.
And the
Whereas
Songus Arena, what district is that?
Downtown mixed use,
Okay. Which also has residential in it, right?
yes.
Okay.
The downtown mixed use district is probably one of the more permissive in terms
More
of
what?
use type, permissive use types.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
zoning districts that allow the most.
What's the hours of operation, Mr. Watson? You open 7 days a week?
Yeah, there are two corporations. There's J.J. Bloomers of Lowell, Inc., which is the restaurant, and then there is a Realty Trust, 727 Realty Trust, and my wife and I are the trustees of the Realty Trust. We're the landlords.
Okay, so the restaurant business, what are the operating hours?
Yes.
What are the operating hours?
Oh, I'm sorry, my ears. We currently operate to the public from 11:30 in the morning till approximately midnight on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we operate from 11:30 to approximately 2. Everybody has to be out of the building before 2 o'clock in accordance to the liquor license.
Okay. So you're either open approximately 12 hours a day, or you're open...
Well, there are people in the building starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, and there are people in the building after closing, at least 2 hours, doing cleanup, putting things away. So we're open about 18 hours a day,
Okay,
if you look at it on the worst case.
okay. So the issue around the changeability of the sign, and as everybody's been talking, I've been reading through, you know, and there's an awful lot that goes with signage. It talks about no form of illumination that is flashing, moving, animated, or intermittent shall be allowed. But if your business is going to be open from, say, 12 hours a day, and I've heard different discussions here about how often the sign would change, and you stated, so if you're open 12 hours a day, for instance, how often would the sign change?
Off the top of my head, 12 hours a day, I probably would want the right to change at least 4 times, every 3 hours, because again, of the incremental businesses. We run 3 separate businesses at J.J. Boomer's, a lunch business, a dinner business, and then what I call an evening business. And the 3 different clienteles, they really are.
Right. And the message is going to be in letters only. There are not going to be any characters at all, or caricatures at all?
I don't, what do you?
I think he wants to
I'd like to
display
do
a
like
logo,
sports
Patriots
logos,
logo, or
something
Red
like
Sox.
that. People seem to like
What's
to see a
the
logo.
purpose of a sports logo is for what?
Bruins, well, it's the Pats, you put up the Pats man, and, you know, Pats game. We offer a discounted menu in our lounge for $1.99 an item during Pats games. That's very attractive to people who know that, and we struggle to get that message out to people.
So you have seasonality of sporting teams. So.
They're on a Bruins playoff, or, you know, Red Sox. If they're hot, we're hot.
Right.
You know, kids eat free if the Red Sox win, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's kind of what we're looking at.
No, I mean, what I've been trying to get my arms around is, you know, it was mentioned about the Songus Arena. I know there's other areas in the city that's come before this board since I've been on here around flashing signs and reader boards, and it's always been a struggle for this board. But in your case, what I'm thinking about, if we're looking at, say it's 4 times a day, whatever those times are now.
And again, the only stipulation is if there's any community messages that need to be up, we'd add those in between somehow. We'd have to figure out when and where. I wouldn't want to.
Well, I think at this point here, you know, it'd be to your advantage that you would utilize community messages, and even specifically around the Pawtuckaville Neighborhood Association. The other point that was brought up was and I think this was at our last meeting, is the signals, the traffic signals that are right on the very corner there, because of the proximity of those signals. And I think there was a comment about if there's the board's changing, somebody's looking at the board, they're not paying attention to the lights. That's why I'm asking the question about how often is it changing? I mean, if it was a constant, every minute scrolling, changing.
Definitely we're not.
That's a big issue, but I think what we've gotten to, the sign has changed dramatically. I think this is what Dennis was kind of hitting on. We've made vast improvements between yourself and through Rachel. I think everybody has to admit the sign is going to look 100% better.
But,
to your benefit.
Absolutely, but in this economy, I couldn't afford to make that change to that sign unless I can be sure of some benefit.
I understand that, but...
Yeah, I just can't. It'll stay like it is.
Yep.
It has.
Well, I think we need to understand how often the sign is going to change. I also, if I was still going to approve it, I don't want the sign on during non-business hours. I don't
totally
want anything.
agree. Yeah.
So that means, you know, during the day, and obviously, I'm sure the brightness of the sign changes, whether it's daylight or nighttime.
Right.
I'm not asking, you know, we have a fixed time, but I believe we
The
have
hours
to.
of a business operation by law, we have to stop at 2 o'clock. I mean, we have to, that's the law. And
Yep.
we keep the parking lot lights on so people can exit, but the sign goes off. That's all what we do now when time is.
Well, I mean, I totally appreciate the neighborhood association being here. I understand everything that they're asking. I understand the master plan that they have. I understand the city's master plan. But as I stated at the last meeting, you've been in business for 27 years.
Yes.
And this for me is a very tough decision to make for this. And, but I would say based on your hours of operation, I don't want to see it change any more than 3 times. Now, you might want 4, but I'm going to say 3. And I need to balance that based on everything else that I've heard so far. So does anybody else on the board have any other comments in regards to this petition?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I can echo, I like your compromise. The changing of the messages is the issue here. But, is 3 messages still feasible for you? I mean,
It's feasible, and again, if that's what I have to concede to get the thing going, I will. I prefer 4 myself because of how I visualize my business, right?
Right.
But, we could we live with 3? A heck of a lot better than we're doing now, yes, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, my concern is what will happen if this doesn't get approved. I mean, the petitioner, I mean, he doesn't appear to be a spiteful person to me, but may say, okay, if they're not going to let me do this, then we're going to do this. And then we may have banners now all over the place, and that's a big concern of mine, so. I don't know, I'll make a motion, if any of the board members have any input, I'll make a motion with the conditions we all talked about that I see fit, and we'll let the board decide.
Well, in regards to banners, I think the banners have already been addressed.
I
I don't think I'm going to see a banner
Yeah.
on your building or on your property going forward.
No,
If this is
absolutely
approved.
No, that will be a condition, yes.
And I think Rachel might have touched about the banners and what the city's trying to do. So I don't see the banners as an issue. And something else that comes to light, I think one of the persons that spoke in opposition talked about other businesses that are down the road from you, that if we grant something to you, that they're liable to do the same thing. Well, that may be, but I also see how we have control over this if we are to approve something, that we can control the changing of the signs. Again, unfortunately, we don't have complete control of this whole city with signs. I wish we did. I wish we could just turn everything off tomorrow and start anew, but we haven't.
Yep.
But I'm trying to be reasonable and to live within the rules and regulations that we have. But I totally stress how many years you've been in business there and where you're located. So does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add
Well,
for a condition?
in the conditions, Mr. Chairman, now, how are we going to work the community bulletin if this does get approved? I just want it to be in condition, so if it's only going to be 3 messages per day, how are we going to incorporate the community bulletin in? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I think we leave that to the discretion of the proprietor, and I would hope that if there are organizations, especially in the Pawtuckaville area, that want to reach out to use his board for publicizing events coming up, that's the only way I could see we could do that.
So we don't designate a certain number or messages per week, or you just want to leave it alone entirely?
Yeah, unless somebody else has a better idea. I think we also talked about the Amber Alerts. You would also have that. Now, he has control of that also, is that correct?
Yeah, even if he's on vacation in Florida,
Yep.
he'll have connection to that sign. He can control its content for marketing purposes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. And any youth organizations, for instance, I know there was a couple of businesses over in Middlesex Street. That's something we worked out with them. If there's any youth organizations in the area that want to approach you and ask that, to do some minimal advertising with you, I would highly encourage that.
We would.
Yeah.
Again, we want to be good citizens, believe me.
No, I mean, you've been here since the beginning, and you came in here and you expressed how you felt about it, and I give that a lot of weight, that you're a businessman, and you're trying to take care of your business, and you've been here for every meeting, and I appreciate that. Anything else?
Any of the board members have any input before I make the motion?
Actually, if I could just add one thing, is it possible to add the Pawtucketville neighborhood meeting tonight kind of message in smaller print, as well as your chicken wings, Patriots
Do you mean
game?
combine two messages on the board at the same time?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. The size of the sign
okay. So that
will
would solve
dictate,
it. Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
various, he can put a lot of content
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
proposed sign, how he wants to subject it. The sign doesn't relate.
Right,
The computer or software will not relate whether it's a different entity.
okay. Then I suggest that we possibly have maybe one message a week available to the community for a period of, 4 hours in the evening kind of thing.
Whatever makes sense,
Okay,
I'm just not comfortable with what to recommend myself,
Well,
yeah.
thank you.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay,
So, does clerk like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the following conditions. That if this is approved, the petition agrees to remove all other banners and signage on all sides of the property. Petitioner agrees not to exceed 3 messages per day. Third, reader board illumination to be turned off at 2 a.m. And the petitioner agrees to include community messages and Amber Alerts.
So if I can just ask one thing, you said off at 2 a.m., but do we want to have it
That's good.
read about normal business hours? In other words, I don't want anything on before
Okay.
he opens, I don't want anything on
Me see.
after 2 o'clock.
What's 11 a.m.?
11:30 is normal opening.
Okay, illumination will be turned off 2 a.m. until 11:30 a.m.
Okay. That it?
I believe so.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
I have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Noon?
Deny.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay. Just the one vote, or do we need a second vote for,
Since that's
Yep.
a good point, yes, be separate vote for the special permit and then another vote for the variance request, so another vote would be good.
for all set?
One more vote for,
Oh, okay, yeah.
the first one
that's-
was for the
that's what I
special
thought.
permit, the second one would be for the variance, so 2 would be good, thank you.
So the first one would fulfill the special permit? Okay. So do we need a list of conditions for the variance?
You
or
can
we-
just reference the same conditions you've
Yep.
already.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the variance on the petition with the same conditions applied to the special permit.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Noon?
Deny.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, sir, you've been approved with conditions for both the special permit and variance, and we wish you the best of luck.
I thank you, Ron, I totally understand it, believe me.
Yeah, Thank
Go
you.
be a good citizen.
Yeah.
We will.
Aaron, anything to sign?
Yes, I have a plan here to sign.
And a special thanks to the neighborhood group for their involvement and Rachel Kiska from Planning and Development.
Okay. Okay, under new business, we have nothing before us. Under other business, we have minutes to approve. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, I assume everybody read the minutes from October the 24th, 2011? Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 24th, 2011.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve.
Mr. Noon?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Okay, any other matters? Hearing none, Mr.
Make a
Clerk?
motion to adjourn.
I have a second?
Second.
then. They won't give me the gavel, you know?